Today we're gonna switch timelines to a universe where every conservative's favorite president never became president in the first place. No, not this guy. While we all wish he was never president, the Donald Trump we know probably wouldn't even exist if it weren't for this guy. Trump didn't break the American system, he just inherited the keys to a house that Reagan spent 8 years gutting and turned into a corporate casino. But what if the universe had been merciful? Let's take a trip down the multiverse to an alternate timeline where Ronnie stayed in Hollywood. Maybe he got a better agent? Maybe the chimpanzee from Bedtime for Bonzo outshined him so badly it humbled his political ambitions. But in this beautiful friction-free timeline, Reagan never runs for governor of California, never assumes the presidency, and never gets the chance to look the American working class dead in the eyes and convince them to willingly sell their own souls for corporate profit.
This bill is the most important legislation for financial institutions in the last 50 years. All in all, I think we hit the jackpot.
Think about what would disappear. Trickle-down economics? Gone. The greatest economic mass delusion since the South Sea bubble. In our timeline, Ronnie convinced millions of hard-working lunch-pail Americans that if we just showered billionaires with tax cuts and deregulation, the wealth would magically trickle down like warm rain. Spoiler alert, it wasn't rain. In the no Reagan timeline, nobody buys it. The middle class looks at the proposal and says, wait, you cut my public services so a CEO can buy a bigger yacht? Are you out of your mind? Stock market speculation stays boring. Corporate raiders are treated like common thieves, and the word union isn't treated like a dirty word. Without Reagan's war on the working class, the public sector isn't starved to death. Universal healthcare probably passed in the late 80s because nobody was screaming that a public health option was a Soviet plot to steal your appliances. College tuition? Still practically free, or dirt cheap, meaning a generation of Americans enters the workforce without a mortgage-sized anchor of debt around their necks. Mental health facilities aren't shut down en masse, meaning our streets aren't filled with casualties of an intentionally broken social safety net. And corporations? They're still legally required to act like members of society instead of hyper-predatory locusts. And what about Donald? Without Reagan deregulation opening the floodgates for predatory real estate loops, cable news monocultures, and the glorified unhinged greed, Trump stays exactly what he was always meant to be, a loudmouth, mid-tier New York developer who occasionally shows up on late-night talk shows to get laughed at. He doesn't become a political savior because the public hasn't been traumatized enough to look for a reality TV grifter to burn the system down. The soil wouldn't be fertile for him. We didn't get that timeline, though. We got this one, where we're still fighting over the crumbs of a pie that was stolen 40 years ago. So what do you think is the single worst legacy of the Reagan era that we're still paying for today? Drop your thoughts in the comments, list your top 5 fixes for this cracked system, and let's talk about it. And as always, keep your receipts, folks.